5-1. Yeah, and this had some budgetary implications, so I've sort of given the board a preview. And sort of give the community an idea where we are in terms of our high school negotiations. I did send to the board today 3 MOUs that are pretty close to being finalized, will not vary significantly. I anticipate that one of them is going to be approved by the Londonderry School Board tonight. So we have successfully negotiated MOUs with Londonderry, Bow, and Pembroke Academy. We have not been as successful in our tuition agreement negotiations with Pinkerton. And there are a couple of issues on the table that are deal breakers. And what they are, I'm not going to go into detail on because we're still negotiating. And those negotiations are confidential. But there is an issue that we haven't been able to resolve. There's also an issue that Pinkerton has with some of the provisions of the MOUs that were negotiated with other school districts. So I've made the suggestion to the school board that a tuition agreement with Pinkerton Academy for the 2014-2015 school year is not possible. I have been in touch with, our attorneys have been in touch with Pinkerton's attorneys, and I did speak with the headmaster. And we are going to try and pursue an MOU with Pinkerton Academy. And for the 14-15 school year, and continue negotiations with Pinkerton on a tuition agreement. But there's no way that we will come to terms that are acceptable or good for this community by the time it's time to get warrant articles done, by the time it's time to start programming youngsters into high school, and by the time it's time to remove the ambiguity of where our youngsters will go. It's disappointing. It's nobody's fault. The school board and I are guarding the best interest of Hooksett youngsters and the Hooksett community. It's Pinkerton's job to watch out for the interests of Pinkerton Academy and the districts that make up Pinkerton Academy. There is no doubt in my mind that we will ultimately reach an agreement, but we're too far apart to come up with something that's going to affect next year's freshmen. I'm not sure how quickly the board heard about this for the first time today. I heard about it for the first time today. In terms of where we are and what some of the issues are. And I suggested to the board that we cannot delay any further, in that we will immediately start to see if we can hammer out the terms of a much simpler agreement, which would be the memorandum of understanding. At this point in time, I can't tell you how many youngsters that MOU would include. That's all stuff that we have to negotiate. On a personal level, this is quite devastating. First time in a long time I felt as though I failed. But I can tell you this, that I did my best. And the attorneys that represent you have done their best. It's just a matter of circumstances just don't make it right. And we can't compromise what's best for our kids and best for our community, not for Pinkerton. So that's where we are. Some questions yet unresolved about how we proceed, but I did break this news to the board at the budget workshop because obviously some of this has funding implications that need to be reflected in our spending plan for next year. I'm not sure if I left anything out. Putting too much. That's what I thought.
I just thought it was important, and you might want to just touch on this point that the part about Pinkerton having a problem and the specific problem with the MOU, because we thought that was interesting, and I think the public might find that interesting as well.
I'll just toss up.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, I was asking you to, but I can if you want to. I just thought you might like to do that.
No, I mean, right now, each one of the MOUs is similar. And our most recent issue, and we have other issues as well, but our most recent issue is a section of the MOU that's called Reservation of Rights. And essentially what it says is the satellite school, the school district receiving our youngsters, reserves the right to deny enrollment of any student who is subject to a current suspension, expulsion, or who has a significant history of drug use, material misconduct, and/or violence. Well, to start with, that doesn't apply to one Hooksett kid. Pinkerton is concerned with that language, being the school that we would have a tuition agreement with, that satellite schools would be able to be more selective while Pinkerton would not. I don't agree with that, but I understand it. When we set out to negotiate the MOUs, some of the districts that we're contracting with have had a prior practice of mimicking the Phillips-Exeter approval process, application process. Where you've got to apply, you've got to get letters of reference, you've got to give your great-grandmother's maiden name, and people come here and they interview college staff to find out if the kid ever did anything bad in his whole life. And that's not what public schooling is all about. So that when we started off with the MOUs, I will tell you it was important for me that the districts that we contracted with were not selective, that our kids are our kids, and that that we would give parents and kids some limited choice as opposed to the ability to be selected. All three districts went along with that, but their attorney did want some language in there that he felt would protect them from our assigning youngsters or a youngster that might be tremendously disruptive to their operation. So it's a compromise. No, we won't go through this long and convoluted selection process, but we've got to be able to exclude, if need be, any youngster whose behavior interferes with the normal operation of the high school in question. So that's what the language was. It's called reservation of rights language. It's problematic for Pinkerton. We really don't have time to go back to three districts we have MOUs with and renegotiate an MOU because the person that we're trying to do the tuition contract with finds some of the MOU language objectionable. We'd go around in circles forever. As I think I indicated, I have spoken with the headmaster of Pinkerton today. We both want a tuition agreement between the two communities. We're not sure it can happen for 14-15, but we're both very interested in seeing if we can quickly, using some of the MOUs that we've already negotiated as models, negotiate an MOU with Pinkerton that would allow a significant portion of our youngsters to attend the ball. That's what we're doing.
Hey, Bill, can you talk about the other non-starter without like coughing up too much? I mean, there were two items that basically drove this, so can you speak to the other one a little bit?
Madam Chair, I would just like to recount the motion that was made and was passed by this board.
Just asked a question of Dr.
Yeah, and I just want to point this out. We are still under negotiations with Pinkerton, and I believe that those negotiations are still confidential, other than the information that was released by the vote of this board.
Phil spoke to this in the budget meeting, Dave. He can say the same, use the same vernacular he used there. I think it will be just fine. It's already out there.
I forget. And I'm not being elusive, public. I'm not being elusive. I'm just trying not to compromise our negotiations position. Suffice to say, without specificity, there were some changes that that Pinkerton would like to have seen in the number of youngsters that we guarantee starting in year 6 that was not acceptable to either myself or this board. And that was the entire board. That's a major obstacle. I think we'll overcome it over time, but these things do take a lot of time to negotiate, and there's give and take. And I know for the public, it seems like we've been doing this forever, but we've been on a pretty fast track in terms of negotiating 5 major agreements. And we're just not going to finish in time to do it and do it right.